first question for you. What is the driving force behind the change?
To the hopes and the dreams, here's to a chance to make a
The album, The Change, is it's our first debut full-length record. The purpose of it is to tell a continuation story from Life, Death, Rebirth. There's a character in Life, Death, Rebirth that's going through the afterlife, and basically that character decided in order to break the reincarnation cycle of being reborn over and over again that it wanted to imbue all of its cellular knowledge into its next vessel and live a perfect life and bring a great change to the world so that they could go to nirvana or heaven or whatever it's from. But every life is supposed to be individual, so the character's voices and all the cellular knowledge that it imbues takes the form of like mental health and torments this young artist that is trying to bring about a great revolution. But I took out all the different genders and any third person lyrics in the record because I want the listener to be the reincarnated soul, because we're all kind of connected in that way, and I hope that it relates to them on that way. But it tackles things like mental health, overcoming depression, overcoming obstacles, and how if you use hard work and perseverance and you continue to chase your dreams against every possible obstacle, that you can become something greater than yourself and can be that version of yourself that you really want to be. And that's the change. Like when you decide that you don't want to fall into a crappy job or a toxic relationship and you want to pursue what you love. That's essentially what it comes about, but I tell it in a fictional story about rebirth and life and stuff like that.
Yeah. So a lot of this sounds very philosophical. Where do you derive like the roots of your work? Does it come from anything that you particularly believe in?
I've dabbled in a lot of different texts that involve the afterlife and spirituality, and like most people, I always questioned whether or not there was more to life than what we see here, what we perceive here. And when I got into some of the like universalist theories and like read into like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, for instance, or the Tao Te Ching, which I took a little bit of derivement from, and it kind of all came from the fear that there might not be anything when we die, but in believing and hoping that there's something much greater and much more broad and beautiful that is what actually happens. So I wanted to bring that to light a little bit and kind of make people take a step back and ask themselves like where they're at in their life, and if things were to end, what would you take with you into those kinds of situations? So it was a little bit of everything. I didn't want it to be restricted to any one. It was a lot of different reading that I did.
And I think you've been really successful in that because you've had such a positive reaction already. You guys are topping charts. And when did the album come out?
The album came out on the 21st of June.
So only a little bit over a week at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that has something to do with the universality of what you're writing about?
I think so. What kind of was the driving force behind it was, the law of attraction and the secret and positive thinking and not letting the obstacles of the music industry or the entertainment industry, for instance, like slow you down. We have all the tools. There's not as many excuses as you think there is. If you put forth the effort and you do what is necessary to get it out there, you'll find your people, and we've been a shining example of that. And as long as we continue to put it out into the universe, it seems to continue to grow. So I don't know, I want to see where it takes us next. Like now that we know what we're capable of, like what can we do next?
I think that's really noble. I mean, I'm a little bit interested in learning some history about Awake at Last and how you guys all met, how you knew each other, how the band came to be.
I'll try to give you like the short version of the story. We have been a band for 8 years, so it's longer than you would think. Although this lineup, this message, and this version of the band as we've evolved is only about 4.5 years old. But essentially, when I got together with my guitar player Eric, we had played in a bunch of different bands when we were younger, and different high school bands during the MySpace era and stuff like that. And we separated for a little while, but then when we came back together, we had both had all these newer experiences, and we learned a lot more about our instruments. So we decided to start writing something again and see what could happen next. And so it kind of started there, and we had a couple different members in the beginning phases. You know, we knew that we wanted to get out there. Being from Delaware, we knew we had to travel. So a lot of what we did in the beginning was just hit the road as soon as we could. As soon as we could call people and be like, hey, let us play. We don't care if it's for free. We just went out. And so we did that for a little while, and then, you know, had a couple toxic personalities that we needed to just, like, reallocate some pieces. But it wasn't until we decided to move me to the lead vocals and pick up a new guitar player that things started to, like, kind of take a new turn. And that's when, you know, our friend Imran came in. And then Finney was a young drummer who was friends with all of our previous drummers that, like, always came to the shows. And when they decided it wasn't, like, touring wasn't for them, he was like, let's go. Like, I'm down. So it kind of started there a little bit. That's, like, the short version. But there's a lot. There's a lot of roller coasters in that whole spiel. A lot of growth and a lot of evolution that happened. But the lineup we have now, I'm confident in. I'm stoked. We, as adults working together, it can be kind of a, you know, it can be an interesting experiment to, like, live in a van, you know, and survive together, you know. But I think that we're all on the same page, and we've all got a pretty clear view of what the goals are and what we want to see from this. And right now we're just, you know, gonna keep on pushing forward.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely. What is your favorite lyric from The Change? I know it's a hard question. I'm sorry.
I think I'm safe enough to say that Fallen Stars is probably one of my most favorite songs on the album, and it's the final song on the CD. And there's a line that I think really embodies the band's message, and it's when everything comes crashing down around us, like a phoenix we're reborn from the ashes. Which talks about the lows and the highs of pursuing art or anything that you're, you know, passionate about. And then it goes into say, you know, sometimes we hurt, sometimes we break, but it's times like these we learn to create, because I think that most art comes from a place of pain and a place of belonging or wanting something more out of life, you know. But and then I go on to say, you know, everyone fails. It's part of the plan. You have to fall to get up again. And that embodies, I think, the industry the most, at least for me. And, like, that's where that line comes from. Because if you're not failing at things, you're not learning lessons of what you could have done better. And some people take failure right to the heart. But I think that failure is probably the greatest teacher that any of us could ever, like, have in life. You know, the minute you know something went wrong, you know not to do that again, you know. So that was one of my favorite lines, because I think it's very critical and very on brand with what the record is about, which is about becoming a better version of yourself and evolving your mindset and your perception to see things more positively and craft the world the way you want to see it, you know. And so I think that's probably my favorite. I would say so for now, at least. That's where I'm at.
That's a strong choice.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Oh my goodness. Do you have a favorite musical moment?
I have a lot of favorite musical moments. I would say the one that I would say is my most favorite is the Rebirth intro to the album. It hasn't, like, the people who have listened to it all the way through have heard it. You know, it's not something that we, like, play out live yet or anything like that. Maybe on some headliners when I want to be dramatic. But I really like that song because it's one of the first songs where, as the singer of the band, I'm directly speaking to the listener. And as the voice that's speaking to the listener, I'm supposed to represent all that cellular knowledge from the past that's being brought into this new vessel. And I think that it really sets the stage for the rest of the record to, like, hit home, because it is very musical and very very composed. And I did a lot of vocal work to get, like, the oohs and ahs in there to really, like, make it feel like there's thousands of voices kind of, like, all boosting this being, you know. So I think that's one to look for. Like, if you're gonna listen to the record, like, please listen to it from the beginning, because that kind of starts it all off the right way. It's like putting the needle on the record, you know?
Yes. Do you have any like crazy tour stories?
I don't know. We've all settled down a lot from our earlier years. As the band's gotten more progressive and moved forward, we've learned that it's much more beneficial to be pro about it. And,
Yeah.
You know, world that we live in as we travel is very much the same in a lot of the places you go. And, you know, when you travel and you're on the roads, like, you can find the same comforts that you can find at home. But I don't have any like specific tour stories, but I will say that the only aspect of the whole experience that really feels like traveling, that really feels like getting somewhere away from home, is in the people that you meet. So every tour story I could give you starts with some of the interesting characters we've met on the road, and we've met some really interesting ones. But that's my favorite part of it all, is the getting to connect with people. Music is about connection, so being able to connect with just people that I would never have met under any other circumstances can be very, very rewarding. So I would say that I don't have anything super crazy that's happened. I mean, we had little things here and there, like this one guy almost hit us when we were driving, and then he like followed us to a Chipotle and like tried to get all big with us, like, "Wow, you almost hit me." I was like, "No, like, you almost hit us, man. Like, that was not cool." And he tried to get all big, and then all like 6 of us got out of the van, and we were just like, "You're gonna have a problem." But you know, those are like little details here and there. But in reality, like the adventure of meeting people and the people where my songs have helped them or whatever, like. That's some of my favorite moments. I've had fans just burst into tears, like come up to me and whatever they were going through in their life, that just like something resonated, and when they like finally got there, they just like exploded, you know. But at the same time, you know, that, you know, lifting that floodgate can be really, really therapeutic. So I like, you know, I'm not saying that I'm happy that I made a fan cry necessarily, but the fact that they felt comfortable enough to just like pour out like that, those kinds of experiences really resonate. So I don't know. You know, we're not as crazy as the partiers as I you know, maybe even sometimes wish we were. You know, I wouldn't mind getting out there a little bit. But.
That's a good answer. What's your star sign?
Aries.
Aries. Do you know your moon or your rise?
I am a Pisces rising, Aries, and I'm pretty sure that I had a Scorpio moon.
Very, very nice.
So I know that the Pisces probably brings in the creativity, because usually Aries tend to be more competitive. And I mean, I'm a Slytherin, so I'm ambitious, but I don't try to like, you know, I'm not a competitive sort. I just, you know, I love seeing the bands that are still doing it. You know, as you progress, it's really a last band standing kind of vibe. So I love seeing the other guys who are like pedaling through the water. You know, we all we meet up at certain points, and it's really cool. So I would say it's not really competitive, but there are like rivals that I like to just keep up with and keep them on their toes. You know, so that's a little bit of the Aries side of me, I think. But
you guys have a lot of focus on your live performances. I know you have quite a bit of theatricality, not only in your aesthetic, but in your background. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, I was always really into musical theater growing up and stuff. And when I was in high school, I dabbled, and I did like Phantom of the Opera and Phantom of the Opera. And it's always an element I like to bring to the table, because it's just... it's what I was inspired by when I was younger. I was really into stuff like that, and in my grandiose visions of what the band would become, I would love for it to become this big theatrical evening. You know, like you go see Awake at Last, it's not just a show, like it's a night out. You know, it's a thing to do. So I would love to bring those elements to the table more, and I plan to. I have some covers I've been working on, and I'm going to be doing some stuff with that, just to show that side of me, like as the individual artist, because, you know, I wanna let the theater kids know that if they're looking to catch a cool rock band that kind of brings it, that we're ones to look
that there's
out
representation for them
absolutely,
too.
Absolutely.
I also
I come from that, you know, I was bullied for it and stuff. You know, we were always the theater kids. I'm into it. I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that what you're doing is not only really important, but really exciting.
I appreciate it.
Tonight was awesome. Yeah. What was your favorite moment of this show?
There's a lot of good moments. Everyone was pretty receptive tonight. I always love being able to throw my hands up and people kind of be there for me. And and I always love that moment when the people who are sitting down in the back like just sighed about 2 or 3 songs and they're like, okay, we're gonna move up forward now. That's always one of my favorites. But the ending was really fun. I feel like everybody was there and we were present and there was a connection that was made. So I didn't like climb on the rafters or anything, but I think that it was a pretty successful Tuesday.
Yes, I would say so.
We were able to make some connections, and that's important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me.
You are very welcome.
Is there anything you want to add?
Just to please check out the new record called The Change. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on iTunes, whatever platform you use for your music. Get involved with the band now. If there's a chance to like sign up on our email list on our website or get involved with our Facebook groups like The Awakened, we know that shows are getting crazier and they could get bigger soon, and we won't be able to have these same intimate vibes that we have right now. So now is a really good time to get involved with us on that ground level, because we want to make sure we take care of the people who were there for us before anything crazy could happen. Not saying that it will, but that it could, So that would be all I would really have to add. Just check us out. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vincent.
You're very welcome, Kenzie. I'm sorry it took me so long.
Hey, no apologies whatsoever.
We have fun?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It's awesome. This is what I love doing.
I sing the songs for the melodies. I sing the songs to ease their pain. I sing the songs for serenity. I sing the song to light the flame. So now you're here, you're in front of me, a bright young soul to take the stage.